Now it's time for Culture Talk, where we discuss culturally relevant topics that you can use to start conversations about your faith. I'm joined today with Dr. Hugh Ross. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
We are still celebrating not only our 100th episode, but also the release of your latest book called Weathering Climate Change. And you have a ton of information in there. You talk about some topics that maybe some of us have never heard of. One of them is the Younger Dryas cooling event. What is that?
That happened 12,800 years ago. And we're in an ice age cycle. And when you come out of an ice age, the temperature rapidly rises to about 2 to 3 degrees centigrade above where it is now. But as it was going up, there was a cooling event that stopped it from reaching its maximum. That's the Younger Dryas cooling event.
Okay, so it stopped the temperature from reaching its maximum.
Right.
And what caused that stopping?
Well, it was discovered a little more than a year ago. They found a huge crater under 3,000 feet of ice in northern Greenland.
Oh, wow, okay.
And they were able to date it, and it's consistent with the Younger Dryas event, and it explains a lot. It explains what happened in much of North America, the reversal of major rivers in North America, and also explains why there was this global cooling event that stopped us from reaching that temperature maximum. And it was actually a crucial feature in launching us into a period of stable climate.
So that's a lot of information to unpack. You started first with this giant crater that they discovered in Greenland, you said?
Yeah, northwestern Greenland.
And how did they even find that, and what?
Well, almost by accident. What happened is a NASA airplane was flying over northern Greenland and had their ice penetrating radar on. Then they found this elliptical feature under 3,000 feet of ice. They said, this looks like a crater. Some geophysicists went to the site and measured the chemistry of the water flowing up underneath that glacier and said, this is the signature of a huge asteroid collision that struck 12,800 years ago.
Wow. Now, what was that asteroid? Was that called something?
They don't have a name for the asteroid, but they do know it's one of the stainless steel asteroids. And they've actually found pieces of this asteroid slightly south of the collision site.
Is this the Hiawatha impactor?
It's a Hiawatha impactor because it hit in the Hiawatha ice field.
Okay, so the asteroid doesn't have a name, but that's what they call.
They call it the Hiawatha impact event because that's the name of the ice field.
So this impact event is what caused the Younger Dryas cooling event?
Yes.
Okay, so how did those two have anything to do with climate change? Because you talk about them quite a bit in your book.
Well, again, in an ice age cycle, you normally have about 90,000 years of unstable temperature conditions where the planet is really cold. And then it comes out of that due to variations in the Earth's orbit and the rotation axis tilt, which causes the temperature to rise dramatically. And it was rising like about 12 to 15 degrees centigrade. This Younger Dryas event put a stop to that, dropped the temperature by 8 degrees centigrade. And then the temperature continued to come up, but it caused a brief period of climate stability. And then what happened is that now we have the orbital variations and the rotation axis tilt beginning to cool the planet. But at the same time, there was enough climate stability that human civilization got launched on a global scale. And the launch of human civilization had a warming effect on the climate that perfectly canceled off the cooling effect and basically set up 9,500 years of extreme climate stability.
So we've had that, we've enjoyed that, and now we're starting to see changes where it's now kind of out of balance and we're seeing more warming than cooling.
Well, what happened is that the temperature hit a peak 8,700 years ago, and the natural cycles were cooling the planet at a slightly more rapid rate than the human activity. And so the temperature dropped 1 degree centigrade over 8,700 years. In 1950, that reversed, and the temperature has now gone up to where we're now as warm as we were 8,700 years ago. But the concern is that could keep going.
Right, that it can keep going. Well, there's plenty of information to dive into in your book, Weathering Climate Change. So is there anything that you want our viewers or our listeners to kind of glean from this conversation?
Well, from this conversation, there's actually 3 major asteroid collision events if they didn't happen at just the right time, at just the right place, with just the right mass of the asteroid and just the right composition, we wouldn't have this period of climate stability. We wouldn't have billions of people on the face of the Earth.
So it seems to be then pointing to design, even though
Yes.
we're understanding that there's climate change and that we want to be cautious of what we do, that what we've enjoyed, that points to a creator.
Well, that's the primary theme of Weathering Climate Change. It's basically another fine-tuning book,
Right.
talking about the latest discoveries that tell us everything's fine-tuned so that billions of us can live here and develop the technology where we can actually understand things like the gospel message.
Yeah. And what I love about your book is it isn't just kind of giving the data, but it's also giving some practical steps that we can do to kind of help thwart the human influence on climate change.
Yeah, we can continue this climate stability while at the same time we boost the world economy rather than crippling the world economy. So there's hope.
Thank you so much, Hugh. If you'd like to check out Hugh's book, Weathering Climate Change, go to reasons.org/2819 and you can get a copy in exchange for a donation in any amount.